What's going on, Wes?
What's up, Brian? Just another casual hump day here in the Dillon household. How you doing?
You know what we used to call hump days around here on Without Parole in the Without Parole household. We used to call these West days. And Wes, um, despite the absence of somebody we love dearly, Miles isn't making it to the show today. I'm very happy to announce today is an official West day. We haven't done a show like this in a long time.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while. Here
Been
we
a
go.
while.
You're right, and it's a bit ironic because honestly,
Don't you think?
I I, I thought that wouldn't be on the show at all today. I, because this was my supposed to be my week off, but
But we didn't do a show
apparently I'm
last
the
week,
only
right? Is
one.
that how it worked?
Right,
Yeah.
right,
And you
and I knew it was questionable, right? Because we never talk about these things, right? We miss a show. We don't talk about whether that means that we postpone or if we're just canceling a
No,
show.
why would we talk about it? That would make sense.
Exactly.
It's amazing.
So
Amazing.
I think the last time that we did this, we just canceled the show and went on like with the regular schedule. So I was assuming that was the case again, but as you mentioned before, Miles isn't available. So basically, neither of the guys that were supposed to do the show today could. So here I am
There
on a
you
West Day
go.
doing the West Day show.
Here you are. And it's gonna be awesome. You ready to do this?
I'm ready to do this.
Let's do it, man.
Let's go.
Yep, that tracks. We're just big. Oh, we're back up on the screen. Here we go. This is PSVR Gamescast Live. We film live usually every Wednesday. I don't know how it works anymore, and I do apologize for the cancellation last week. As it turns out, when you don't do 3 shows a week and then you cancel one of them, when there's only one show a week and then you cancel one, by the time we get around to doing another one of these, it feels like it's been months. Like, I feel like this is like a weird reunion of sorts. So I don't. I apologize for canceling last week. I feel like we should have just like pushed through and done it anyway. In retrospect.
But tons of good content. Even though you haven't been doing podcasts
Yep.
on the channel here, I have been watching, and you have been doing tons of great content on some not so great games. So kudos to you for that.
Thank you so much. We are. Where? What is going on with this? Here, let me see if I can't fix this real quick. We keep turning into gray screens, and then I think that might have fixed it. Fingers crossed, everybody. Uh, Wes, I got some stuff to talk about in terms of like without parole and shit. There's some cool stuff to talk about. I appreciate the fact that you pointed out some of the videos I've been working on. Yeah, they have been great games, and so it hasn't been real fun to put the headset on over here recently. But I've got some positive news for without parole. But what always happens is we talk about without parole and we never get around to being like, hey, what's going on in Virtual Strangers? So before I go on a rant and just fucking steamroll you, uh, please let me know. Like, I haven't had a chance to keep an eye on your channel. What's been going on over there? What's coming up? So talk to me, Wes. What's happening?
Well, it's the slow season, right? There haven't been a ton of great VR releases. Well, that said, actually, surprisingly, pretty solid month out of the Quest library this month. Very, shockingly, we just did Game of the Month on our most recent episode, and when I'm talking about educational VR games, then it's not the most active month for VR. Um, but with that said, we've been focusing a lot on mods um, with regard to what we're playing and what we're covering on Saturdays. Um, and I think we're going to start going back and covering classics as well, at least until the release schedule picks back up, which I don't think is going to take too long because the news is starting to roll in hot and heavy. So it feels like the end is in sight as far as the slow season goes. But no, man, we've just been rolling right along. I actually did my first episode last Saturday by myself, no co-hosts.
What was that? The
Eric's,
first? This is you said
Eric,
first time ever.
first time I've ever done one by myself,
Has
and that I've
AJ
actually
inspired us all? Is that what's happening?
no. Both of my guys dropped out for personal stuff. So and I missed the week prior to that. I didn't want to miss 2 weeks in a row, so I just said, "Fuck it, we'll do it live," and that's what we did, and it went pretty well. But Roots is back now. He seems to have a bit more enthusiasm for VR than he did before he left, so that's been great, obviously. And no, man, we're just going right along with our regular schedule, playing games and talking about them on Saturday, covering news on Monday, and that's that.
So if you are not if you're not a member of the Virtual Strangers community, make sure you click the link in the description below and go subscribe. Now is a better time than ever to subscribe to Virtual Strangers, obviously, because the PC adapter for the PSVR2 is coming up, and it sounds like about half of our viewers are interested in what's going on the PC side of things. They're interested in picking up an adapter. I'm not part of that half, and so you're really going to need people like Wes and Roots and Eric to help you guys out and steer you in the right direction.
We'll win you over yet.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I've had a Quest 3 sitting right here next to this PC for ever, and I had a Quest 2 prior to that sitting right next to this PC. And every time I hook it up, I wish I hadn't. Mostly because it makes my work computer very unhappy, and then Gamescast takes 3 hours to fix audio settings and shit. So I should just buy a new computer. I should just buy a new. I should buy a VR PC, and then all would be great. Other than my happiness.
I bet that they pay for it. You know, I keep talking about upgrading my my graphics card, right? Because while I have a pretty high powered rig as it is already, um, there are still certain games that I try to mod, like the high end AAA newest of the new Unreal Engine games that come out. I still don't have quite enough horsepower to run those smoothly. And so I've been talking about saving up, you know, selling some stuff off, saving up to get like a 4090 or a 5080 whenever they come out. And every time I do, Looper mentions just run a fundraiser, just run a fundraiser. And apparently people are down with that idea. So I bet if you were interested in doing some PC gaming, people would be interested enough to hearing your take on it that they would probably pay for most of it.
I don't know.
Just saying.
Man, I feel like I'd just be burying myself. But we'll talk about it, man. We'll talk about it. We got a little bit of time left before the PC adapter comes out, and we'll talk about it. I do want to add a little bit more structure to Without Parole. It feels, especially ever since the show went down to one day a week, the structure has been completely missing, not only from the channel but from my life. And like, so it's sort of like, you know, like sometimes you just need that thing, right? To be like, oh, it's Monday, I know what I'm doing today, right? It's like, what can I do before Gamescast? And oh, now it's Gamescast, and what can I do after Gamescast? But you know, as long as you know that there's these deadlines coming up, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, it kind of like forces you to get shit done between those moments. And I don't have that right now, and so like I feel lost. Like I am a much better employee than an employer. And so so either somebody needs to hire me, not Impact, Jesus fucking Christ, but like either someone needs to hire me, or I just need to create better structure in my life, which is what I'm doing. So I had mentioned this in passing on Twitter to somebody who was saying they missed the 3-day week format. They said 3 days was too much for you. We're sorry. 1 day doesn't seem to be enough. How does 2 days a week sound? And the answer is wonderful. So starting this Sunday, we're going to have guest host John Hibbins on Without Parole to talk about what's happening over there at SciTech Games for a very special live episode of Viewer Takeover.
Nice. Sunday, huh?
Sunday.
That's
Sunday.
every day. We've got every day covered. If you're taking Sunday, man, that's every day of the week with the VR podcast now.
This is our way to slowly take out Beardo Benjo. We're just gonna suffocate it. I just picked a random VR YouTuber's name out of my head. I have no idea what his schedule is or if he does a podcast. Shout out to Beardo Benjo, because every time I've seen him or interacted with him, he's been awesome. So sorry for being the butt of the joke. So yeah, Sunday. It's going to be 2 p.m. Eastern. because the idea is, as you know, going to be a nice, casual, relaxing show, and we're going to do heavy focus on just like shooting the shit. I want to have a guest on every single week, so please send your suggestions for who the guest should be. Um, that means like VR developers that we want to hear from. I know, we definitely want to be hearing from like Blake Stone and Colton over there at Vitruvius, because they'll be wrapping up Arken Age soon. And people have been asking like for us to do interviews again. As like, you know what, maybe viewer takeover is the best way to do it, right? Get them on, talk a little bit about their projects, but simultaneously be like, hey, let's talk about the whole VR industry as well. That's
I can
sort
help
of the
you with that.
plan. And and of
I
course other
love
influencers too.
I love that you're going back to dev interviews. There's a lack of this sort of content, and certainly a desire from what I can tell on the developer end. Like these devs want to go somewhere and have a platform to talk about and promote their projects. There just isn't a lot of that on YouTube right now. So the fact that you're going back to it, I think is great.
I gotta be
So
honest,
yeah.
Wes. I feel like I feel like the old format of Without Parole back in the day, when we did like Gamescast Live as one show and then Viewer Takeover as another show. We had Why We Love PSVR and we had developer interviews. Like that was a much younger, much more ambitious, much more energetic Brian Paul, who was like who didn't care about his own health or well-being or mental status. All he cared about was pumping out content for the channel. That was such a better channel. So if you're ever if you're ever hurting for content on Without Parole, just rewind 6 years or so, 7 years, 8 years, and you'll see me do all sorts of weird things, like put on strange voices and wear funny ties. But there's a shitload of content out there if you want to know the history of PSVR1. It's all here somewhere.
PSVR Theater. That was my favorite.
Theater.
Like making fun of and roasting these trailers was just the best.
Well,
I always thought it was awesome.
and I think that has a lot to do with who my co-hosts were. Jeremy is one of the funniest people I know, and Michelle was a great accompaniment to him. I always had to play the straight man, which I don't love being. Also, insert gay joke here, I suppose. um, but but yeah, sometimes it's up to like who your co-hosts are. I would dude, if Jeremy had a freer schedule and he was able to hang out with me once a week and like make fun of trailers, I would totally bring back PSVR Theater. But anyway, so good things. I think all good things are happening on the channel, and this will be a pretty good experiment too, to see how 2 shows a week work. There's always been this thing in the back of my head where I was like, you know what, I kind of miss this thing where it's like, Monday is AJ and Wednesday is Wes and Friday's Miles. I just forget everybody's name like simultaneously, and so and so there's a part of me that's like, man, we gotta fucking maybe we didn't know how good we had it, And so I'm always listening to people and always trying to see like, like did I make a mistake? Do we need to bring that back? And we'll see. Especially with the months that are coming up, Wes. The months that are coming up, it is going to be insane, I think, for the rest of the year. I think August might be a little bit dry. We might have like, 1 or 2 good games coming out. And then it's just going to be like September, October, November is just going to be insanity as far as new games coming out.
Gamescom coming up
Right.
with the home of XR. Did you hear about the home of XR, Ryan?
I heard about the home of XR, except I didn't pay attention because it said XR in the title. Can you explain this to me?
So basically, typically when you go to one of these conferences like Gamescom or PAX or GDC or any of them, it's hard to find the VR stuff, right? It's always sprinkled amongst a sea of flat games and other tech booths. That's not going to be the case at Gamescom this year. There is going to be a very large area that is reserved for VR studios. And it's going to have the top VR studios. It's going to have Fast Travel. It's going to have In Dreams. It's going to have um, Combat Waffle. It's going to have Flat to VR Studios and a ton of others. I think Cyborn just signed on to do a little booth in there.
Wow.
But it's all going to be in one big area. It isn't going to be out on the consumer floor. It is in the restricted media area, so you have to be an influencer, you have to be media or some other type of industry person to get back there. But there's going to be behind closed doors demos and a bunch of cool stuff. So if you are a content creator, our friend Jamie Feltham is booking out demo spots right now. So um, be sure to contact him, or if you don't know who to contact or how to contact him, contact me and I can get you into contact with him. But it's an exciting thing. Basically,
Contacts.
most of the people that's going to be in that showcase are also going to be, you know, demoing games at Gamescom this year.
Well, let's talk about the VR game showcase. This is very interesting. Jamie Feltham, previously of Upload VR, is putting together the VR game showcase. That's the official name of it. So if you ever forget what the name is, just think of all the things that it is and then shove them together in an order, and you're probably accurate. I want to go through the bullet points here. It says it's the biggest and best developers in the VR industry, as you already mentioned, assembling to make major announcements and reveals a premium digital event focused on high-end blockbuster titles coming to headset soon, created and presented by VR veteran Jamie Feltham. The show will air on Thursday, August 15th, 2024 at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern. That's all we care about is Eastern time. We know that you're out there, British people. Just add 5. Let's see. The show, which will be available via an official YouTube channel and co-streaming partners. I think that's us, Wes. I think we're co-streaming partners.
That is.
Yeah.
I believe we will be.
Whether they like it or not. We'll feature significant reveals and updates from both mainstay VR studios and popular teams from the wider games industry. Announcements have been carefully curated in order to deliver a tight, focused event that highlights the best VR has to offer in 2024 and beyond. It goes on, Wes. Do you think?
Yeah.
Do you think this is a response to, say, like the Upload VR showcase, where we watch the Upload VR showcase and we see quest game, quest game, quest game, and I'm using that as a pejorative because it is in this sense, right? We've seen beautiful Quest 3 exclusives or Quest 3 games, but that's not what we're looking at when we see an Upload VR showcase. We tend to be looking at lots of, one or two man teams making very small games with flat shaded polygons, which looks like very, very primitive VR. Right, so maybe I should say Quest 1 looking games and not Quest 3 looking games. Yeah. And so I think there is a need for this. This seems to be a response to that, where they're saying, "Look, listen, VR is more than that, right? We don't want people looking at something like the VR, the Upload showcase, and saying, oh, this is what VR is. This looks like the shit we saw 10 years ago." And so when they talk about the bigger studios who are going to be part of this, I think this is going to impress some people who were maybe on the fence about VR or maybe unsure of, where VR is at. This is going to be a lot more impressive, I think, and I hope.
Yeah, I don't think Jamie would ever come out and say that this is a direct response to Upload's showcases that have, obviously fallen off a little bit since Jamie left Upload. Not trying to throw shots at Upload or anything. I thought that their showcase this summer was pretty good. I was pretty positive coming out of it. But you're right. It was kind of like, App Lab Showcase, right? App Lab Tech Demo Showcase.
It's a better name for it.
You know, not only that, but this year we have an absence of the Meta Gaming Showcase that typically happens around April, May. We didn't have one of those this year, and there hasn't been a lot even during like State of Plays and PlayStation showcases. So there's a big void here to show off, what the top independent VR studios are doing. Maybe Meta doesn't want to show first party stuff, and maybe Sony doesn't want to show first party stuff, but In Dreams is still working on stuff. Fast Travel, Vertigo, Servios, and there's a number of well established top VR studios that have multiple projects running right now. And we need a platform to showcase that stuff. So I think that this is exactly what Jamie intends to do with his showcase. I don't think we're going to see a lot of fluff in it. I don't think it's going to be super long or anything like that.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be condensed and it's going to be top-notch projects from start to finish.
I agree. And I'm looking here, and yeah, he's saying 15 announcements and games, and so yeah, that does sound like a pretty tight showcase. Saying featuring Vertigo games, End Dreams, Shell games, Fast Travel games, Beyond Frames. I said games too many times in a row, and then I want to say Beyond Games, and
Beyond
more.
games.
Then more titles and partners for the show will be revealed closer to the air date. I think the only one they've announced so far that will be there is Hitman 3 VR Reloaded. Um,
Mm.
I would love to sit here and speculate what we think that each of these studios is going to bring to to Gamescom and going to bring to the VR showcase. But I think we probably know the answer for the most part. I'm curious to see how many surprises there'll be, right? Because we're about to talk about the newest End Dreams game from Nearlight. We're going to talk about that today. But I guess it's possible that like maybe End Dreams proper, like End Dreams Studio, has something to reveal as well. Like maybe a teaser for that. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just said maybe we shouldn't do this, and now I'm doing it. It's not what I meant to do. So,
Yeah, I think that most of these studios that we've named off here have grown to the point that it's highly likely that they all have multiple projects in the works.
yeah,
So, yeah, while I don't think that everything that Jamie runs is going to be a reveal and an announcement, I think that there will be a great deal of things in there that people are not yet aware of.
agreed. Agreed. Should be good, man. And obviously anything like this is awesome for the industry, for the community, for the industry. Just anytime we can spotlight more VR games, more VR studios, it's always a good thing. Dude, we got to get caught up on some tips here. Professor Lilith tip before the show even began. I can't scroll up that high. I'm sorry, Lilith. With a $5 tip, said the Sunday multiplayer survey is live. Choose Altair Breaker, Arizona Sunshine 2, or Crisis Brigade 2. The random number generator has spoken. Thank you very much, Professor Lilith, for diligently doing this. If you don't know, come join our Discord and play games with the community every Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern. As you can see, you get to vote on what game you play. And man, I gotta say, I would play Altair Breaker. I had a lot of fun with that game, even though it's like 6.5. It's super lacking on content, but like if you pick it up on a sale and get together for a couple hours and play with some friends, it's a fun grind. I enjoy it.
Arizona Sunshine 2, all day for me. I
All
like
day.
shooting zombies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Snowbreed, zombies and Snowbreed.
Snowbreed. Yeah.
I'll get the Game Cat Andrew Ehrenreich with the $2 tip says a Gamescast at this time of year. Yep. What a dick. I'm just kidding, Andrew. It's true. It feels like it's been forever. Darth Vader, the Game Cat, with the $2 tip says, Brian, are you ready for long legs? Here's a little inside baseball that no one needed to know. My good buddy Vader here has been bragging about how he's going to go see the premiere of Longlegs, new horror movie coming out, Nick Cage, this Friday. He's going to go see the first showing of it. Just so happened in my town, the first showing is 24 hours before his first showing. And so I'm exactly. Thank you. You understand where I'm going with this. I haven't even seen a trailer for Longlegs, but I bought tickets to the Thursday show just so I could piss him off. So all week long, I've been torturing him and being like, guess who's going to go see Longlegs 24 hours before you?
Oh, dude, you should totally spoil it. Just spoil it for him before he even gets there.
I'm not that mean, man. I don't mind. I don't mind torturing him and like making him feel bad that he doesn't get to see it before me. Opening night is, obviously. When did opening night becomes Thursday night anyway? I have no idea.
I don't know. COVID, maybe. That's when the movie industry just basically got turned upside down.
Yeah, very
So
very
that would be
tricksy
my
of them.
guess.
Because then they like inflate the opening weekend numbers, right? Because it's like now it includes Thursday. Interesting.
That's true.
Right? Dino, the middle-aged mutant ninja game cat. Dino, middle-aged mutant ninja game cat. It doesn't fucking flow like I thought it would. I had to figure that out on the fly. With the 5 quid says, any news on the Madison spoiler cast yet, Brian? Has Miles manned up yet and finished it?
Forgot about that.
Yeah, I think we all forgot about that. There's no update. but what I'm guessing will probably happen is uh, whoever wants to partake will sign up for the Sunday show, right? And we'll do a couple viewer takeovers, and then the Sunday show will replace it with the spoiler cast one week when we can kind of arrange it. Because I think as many of the Without Parole crew want to be here as possible. I think we all enjoyed that game thoroughly. We all have a lot to say about the story and our interpretation of it. So I don't want to exclude anybody. If I can avoid doing that. So we'll give Miles all the time he needs. And it sounds like he could use some extra time right about now. Uh, man, he's working hard, man. That's all I'll say. Dude is a hard
He's
worker
busy.
and he's working hard.
He's killing it too, man. Like he really is. I don't know what we would do without him, and he's only been around for what 6 weeks, 2
That's
months,
so
something
great to
like
hear,
that.
man. Like, I don't think you can give a better compliment than that.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, he's been a lifesaver for sure.
Niles Drying the Game Feline with $5 tips is working. So just dropping by to say hi and please take my money. Well, took my money, I did. Or no, that's took your money. Anyway, thank you very much. Appreciate everyone's generosity. Dude, let's talk about some games before there's so much news to talk about in terms of what dude, the PlayStation blog is on fire today. Multiple VR news stories. But we haven't done this in a little bit, and so a couple games came out in our absence, and I was just wondering if you've had a chance to play any of them, Wes.
A couple of games came out. Now, be more specific, Brian.
All right, well, let's start with the Infinite Inside, which I don't think has a "the" at the beginning of it. It's just Infinite Inside.
Do you know who else has an infinite? Never mind.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I played some of Infinite Inside. I think I played through 3 chapters. Took me about 90 minutes or so.
Okay.
Yeah, played a little bit of that today actually.
And I mean, okay, listen. So my review's out there. It turns out it has a platinum trophy, which is a bonus. It's better than than not having one, I suppose. Oh man, dude, I suck at this. Hold on a second. Is this the button? No, that's not the button. Where's the button? Hold on a second. There we go. Figure this out one day, Wes. Yeah, I didn't love this. I didn't love this. I wanted to so much because I thought it was very zen-like. I thought it was very very chill game. But the longer I played, the more I was wondering what the fuck I was doing in that game. I just said there's just not a lot happening. The puzzles don't evolve very much. There's like 1 or 2 interesting things that happen. The whole thing took about 2.5 hours for me, and when it was done, I was like, I don't understand why this didn't have 100 levels, because all the levels are made of like these kind of like Tetrisy Jenga blocks, right? So there's not like a ton of differences in the environments. I feel like these are levels that you could make very very quickly, and so what are we doing? Why, if this is your game, why is it only 5 chapters? Why is it only why does
Oh, it's
everything
only 5? Oh
yeah,
no.
oh yeah, you're almost done. Yeah,
Oh no.
yeah.
That's
uh
bad. That's
and
not good.
and so while I like really enjoyed like just kind of the atmosphere, the kind of ambient zen like music and everything, and you even putting puzzle pieces together, that's fun for a minute or two. It just didn't feel like a game that should exist in 2024, and it feels like it feels like something that maybe should have been bigger, uh, direction that got lost along the way. That there was a vision here not fully realized. I don't know, man. I'm speculating, obviously, but it felt very shallow and lackluster to me, and I hated that because I was sort of looking forward to this. But those are my thoughts, man. Do you agree with any of that?
I agree with a lot of it. There were things I liked and things I didn't like about it. I feel like they've got a workable concept here that they could take the concepts that they're working with and make a good game out of it. Um, I feel like there were certain things that they didn't execute on very well that kind of held it from fulfilling its potential. First of all, I like the atmosphere and the vibe.
Yeah.
Like I think the ambient soundtrack really fits the mood of the game. While the environments themselves are a little bit vanilla, we'll say. I still kind of dug it. I thought that you know, the thing looks pretty good in the headset, and I feel like for the vibe that they were trying to build, um, this kind of MC Escher surreal environment, that they didn't need to go too over the top in terms of visual stimulation. So I felt that kind of works. I
I
would have liked to see.
before you go
I'm
on,
sorry.
Wes, I do want to say I agree with you. I actually really dug the MC Escher vibe. The style was pretty cool, and that's why I was really surprised they didn't go further with it. I really was like,
Yeah.
oh, the staircase is leading nowhere. Everything, the stuff upside down over here. Like, very, very interesting to be in a world like that. And so, like, why not really lean into that and like make and throw people's perception for a loop? And I feel like that, all 5 chapters later, they never did that, not even once.
See, that's kind of where I hoped that they were going with it after finishing the third chapter. Like, chapter 1, 2, 3, they do keep adding layers into uh the 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 puzzle, so that the next chapter is a little more complex than the last. I was hoping that it would continue to build on, go through about 10 chapters, and then as we start to work through our way through the second half of the game, maybe we start to rotate the structure so that some of these things that are on the walls and ceilings become the floor, and you kind of open up new avenues to explore. Um, but it sounds like that never actually happens.
They
And then
touch
I
on
was
it.
kind of hoping.
They touch
Oh,
on
do
it.
they?
It's like they
Okay.
give you a little taste, and then that really makes you angry because then you're like, yes, yes, you were on the right track. Why didn't we fully go there? Is very
Right.
frustrating for me to play, but
I
yeah.
was hoping that it would continue to build not only in the complexity of the puzzles, but in the surrealism. I was hoping that the more that you journeyed into the infinite inside,
Hmm.
that it would become more and more surreal, more and more dreamlike, and and definitely more complexity to what you're doing. I think that's one of my biggest complaints about it, is that it never really gets all that complex. Basically, what you're doing is exploring a relatively basic structure. And when I say exploring, I don't mean that you're going down a bunch of dead ends and really having to search to find these puzzle pieces. You're just basically node to node traveling down these different hallways. And when you get to the end of one, oh, there's the puzzle piece. You really don't even have to look for it. It's just right there. And you pick it up, and it's just like it's more like you're just walking around collecting things than actually exploring, and that's most of the gameplay.
Yep.
The rest of the gameplay is just fitting together, these small jigsaw puzzles, which isn't very challenging. It just takes a minute to work through it, and that's pretty much the entirety of the game for me. Again, a concept that, when fully fleshed out, could be fun if the exploration had a lot more to it. If they were putting you in larger maps and letting you fully explore things, and having to actually open up passageways and really find things, then that would be a lot more rewarding. Um, but they don't seem to be doing that. um, Furthermore, and the thing that really, really probably bothered me the most is, the interaction and traversal is terrible in
Yep.
this game. Like, typically, with a good node-based teleport game doesn't bother me, but this is not good node-based teleportation. It's terrible node-based teleportation. There's nodes everywhere, but it seems like you're always, like, activating the one that you don't wanna activate. The one that you do wanna activate and go to, it never seems to, um, highlight, and when it does, it's for a split second, and it isn't long enough for you to actually teleport over there. Um, Furthermore, it's quick turn only, set to 45 degrees, so you have 4 directions you can face,
Yep.
and the environments, since they're so bland and samey, it's easy to kind of lose your bearing
Yeah.
just making one turn. You have to kind of look around to to get your bearings every time you do a turn. so you end up retreading ground a lot accidentally, just because of that they force you into this terrible locomotion system.
I'm
Um,
glad you brought that up, Wes, because I always look at that as a me problem because I have a terrible sense of direction. Like it doesn't matter what game, I'm always getting lost very quickly. But this game is, oh man, like the fact that everything looks the same, and then you're being activating these node to node to node. Every time you jump, you're like, okay, now hold on, let me get my bearings again. And you forget, like if you're at a corner of a hallway, you're never sure which way. And the click turning, at least on PSVR2, sirens on my end. It doesn't rotate on a central point. Like you're not just circling around on a central point, you're pivoting. And somehow and every time you pivot, it throws you a little further off center. And so the more you use click turn, eventually you're going to end up in a fucking wall. And I was like, this is some basic shit here, right? Like if you play this game for more than a couple hours or more than an hour, like this is stuff that like should have been figured out during playtesting. And it's just like, man, it makes something that's already a little bit lackluster, like frustrating. And so it's like, man, I don't know, man. I was extremely frustrated with my entire experience with this for all of
yeah,
those reasons.
that's kind of how ended up for me too. Like I started out like, okay, this is all right. This could get good,
Hmm.
and then by the end, by the time I was like, you said it, like an hour into it, it was just frustration for me trying to turn this pillar, but the interaction's so janky with it. Like, um, you feel like you should just be able to take your hand and push it and it should just spin, right?
Yep.
But you have to grab it perfectly on the edge, and then sometimes it doesn't even grab. So you have to try 2 or 3 times to get a hold on it, and then you're trying to turn it, but it only does a half turn, and then it didn't feel very polished to me, in terms of locomotion, in terms of interaction, and that stuff that it literally is never okay. Like this is stuff that should be worked out in beta testing, and it makes what might be at least an average game fall to a below average game just because of things that were easily avoidable, had they brought in testers early and listened to some feedback.
Yep. Agreed. Uh, Again, it does have a platinum. That was something I talked to Maze Theory. Yeah, I talked to Maze Theory before the game came out and said, hey, send me the trophy list. Your trophies aren't live. I have no idea if this has a platinum in it. They sent me a trophy list. No platinum on the trophy list. The trophy list went live today. There's a platinum on the trophy list. So I don't know what the fuck's going on. So everything I told you was factual when posting the video. Anyway, Wally is now GameCast, specifically a White Tiger, with a Canadian $2 tip, says PlayStation Plus Job Sim. Where is Aces of Thunder? Man, that was a roller coaster ride. 7 words. There were lots of ups and downs. Yeah, man. So what? Is it August or July? I don't even know. What month are we in? Where PlayStation Plus Premium is going to be getting Job Sim. Wait, yeah, as a Plus Premium game. Hey, more free VR games the better. More incentive for people to pick up a PSVR2.
Free.
Yeah. Although, listen, I'm guessing you don't pay for premium.
Hell no, I don't play for premium. I have to debate myself whether the basic's worth it every year, but I end up getting it anyway.
I'm the exact same way. I was like, listen, just give me. Don't give me the free games. Don't give me bonus this, bonus that. I'm just paying for the online stuff so that I can play with my friends in multiplayer games. That's all. That's literally the only reason I'm paying for Plus. I will say though, recently, Wes, I'd gotten a Portal and spent a lot of time playing Dave the Diver,
Gosh.
Crow Country, and Animal Well. And I had to buy all 3 of those. And if I had just signed up for premium, I would have saved myself like $20 just from those 3 titles alone. So if you're not just a VR gamer, it does seem like premium can be worth it. If you're just a VR gamer, I don't know, you have to decide. If you're a new VR gamer, the premium stuff seems like a great deal because all these amazing games at your disposal. But, if you're like the rest of us who have been, buying games since day one, and had a PSVR2 for a year and a half now, it might not be worth it to you. So there's a lot to weigh, I think.
True.
Yep. Also, yeah, where the fuck is Ace of Thunder? I'm glad that they're updating us. Gaijin Entertainment's been updating us on their Facebook page or their Instagram page or something. Very strange place to be updating people. So at least we're getting updates on Ace of Thunder, but it's very strange that here we are in July. And like in January, they were saying, yeah, the game's basically done. So how does it take 7 months and it's still not out?
I think they're still adding things to it. I watched a video this past week on it, on a flight sim enthusiast channel, and it's a guy that really follows these flight sims very closely, and I think they keep adding new aircraft and things to it, I think is what they're doing.
Yeah.
I'm a bit concerned now though, because this guy says that this is a multiplayer only game. Have you heard that before?
Yeah. That I think that's
Which
sort of been the word since it was announced, which is
that sucks.
yeah, there's only so much depth you can get from a multiplayer only game. I would love a full-fledged single-player campaign because I'm more of a single-player gamer. But listen, at this point, like I'm kind of like willing to take what I can get, right? Like we're dying for an awesome flight game over here. And so if it's going to be
It
multiplayer
looks
only,
awesome.
it's going to be multiplayer only. Yeah, 90 frames per second, which always looks nice, but and then we're seeing in like the newest footage and everything just how detailed they've made the ground environments. The ground looks very detailed. It does not look like what's the game that came out that we were all disappointed by? The other
Yeah,
flying
the
game.
one that we all purposefully are, you know, blocking out of our memories.
Yeah,
I know the game you're talking about. I never can remember what it's called anymore. And I
yeah.
think that's intentional.
Somebody in the chat's about to tell us, I'm sure. Project
Yeah,
Wingman, and I knew it was going to be Looper.
there you
I
go.
almost said it was going to be Looper who would have the name at the ready. Project Wingman. So yeah, because everything was popping up in Project Wingman. Like you just like see like even trees and stuff like pop, pop, pop. Like the level of detail was not that far. Anyway, yeah. Listen, as long as they kill the resolution in this, we already know that the frame rate's going to be great. The detail in the environments is great. So as long as the resolution is awesome, hopefully they're just taking all this extra time to really really polish it. As you said, add content. Um, you've got to assume that there's Sony money behind this because it's only coming out for PlayStation VR2. There's got
Yeah.
to be a reason for that, and Sony just sitting quietly back as always, not taking responsibility for all the cool shit they're doing, right? And letting people dance over the supposed PSVR2 grave. I mean, like, Sony doesn't support this thing, but like, yeah, Aces of Thunder, I don't think would exist without them. So who knows, man? I think Sony saw the potential in this and maybe said, hey, take all the fucking time you need. Make sure you get it right because this is gonna be an important game for us.
I hope you're right. I hope for these developers' sake that you're right. I hope they're getting some money from someone, right?
Hell yeah. Let's see who else is in the chat here. I don't remember who saw it, but somebody said who's excited for Arcade Paradise, dude. We are all excited for Arcade Paradise. That's going to be the saving grace in August, I think. Not too many games coming out this month or next month, but Arcade Paradise makes up for all of it. Scott, the PSVR Game Cat for Life with the level 1 membership says England are in the Euros final. Let's fucking go. That's a sports thing.
I don't know what that is.
Yep, same. All right, moving on.
Who-
Scott, we
team?
love you, Scott. We have no fucking idea what you're talking about. It's sports. The game that's most people would be embarrassed to say that. I wear it with like a badge of pride. WTF sports. And GameCat Andrew Ehrenreich with the $5 tip says, when the adapter is out, I'll be able to play something like Flight Sim on Game Pass with PSVR 2. Will I be able to play something like Flight Simulator on Game Pass with PSVR 2, or will Phil Spencer climb out of my TV and slap me?
No, you can do that. It'll probably run through your Steam VR, I think. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that you can do that.
GameCat in the chat says football. Lots of extra vowels and consonants.
Football season doesn't start for a couple more months, bro.
I think it's the other football.
Oh, you mean soccer?
No,
Sucker.
no, bocce.
Oh,
Is that not a bocce ball? Use your foot in that game, right? As much as you do in American football.
right.
I don't know what's going on. All right. Did you play Skyclimb, Wes?
I did. I have before
Oh.
on Quest. I went in on PSVR for a few minutes just to see how the port
Mm-hmm.
came over, and yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, it was a little bit um, rough around the edges in a couple places, like mainly though, like stuff that doesn't matter. Like there's some low res skyboxes in like the menu area part of it, and some forced click turning when I was playing it, but I don't think that's permanent, is it? Right? They just haven't implemented the smooth right.
No, like
Yeah.
Windlands 2 and every other game that accidentally came out too early. This game came out accidentally too early, and so I do believe that there was another patch meant to hit this game before release. Yeah, no smooth turning. I don't think voice chat is implemented yet in the multiplayer mode. And yeah, there's a handful of things that they want to sort out. I had never played this before, Wes. This was new to me, and
Cool.
and I gotta say, is not as intuitive as I thought it would be. I think it's a very floaty game, and despite the fact that you can flap your arms to fly a little bit longer, and then put your hands in a downward praying position in order to kind of dive bomb, you can turn in the air, do all of these things that really make it seem like you have a lot more control in the air. There's even like I think if you hit both triggers, you can dash in a direction in the air.
Yep. Okay.
I still felt like I had no control over where I was going. Constantly
You'll
just
get
like,
used to it.
yeah. I mean, I'm sure I will. I only played a couple levels. I wanted to make sure I got the best time on like level 2 or something like that. So I'm sure that's already been beaten 100 times over. But it looks like it'll be a fun game. Just a bigger learning curve than I expected. And honestly, I don't know if I really want to play it until until the launch version is out. So please excuse me if there's no review for this game, because I don't want to. I do not want to Galaxy Cart this game, right? And have to check out every single update and blah 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 blah. Right now it's fine, because right, is it $20 or is it $15? I think it's 50, shit.
I have no idea.
I don't know, but like there's a ton of content. There's like 70 levels or something like that, 7 bosses. I'm just making up numbers, but there's a lot of content in this game. And so if you do get it and you do get into it, there's a lot of game here. So I do think that it's,
And
it'll be worth it if you pick it up.
and how about the look and sound of it, man? Does this not feel like an old school Nintendo game that you're inside of? It does to me. Like I get that vibe like oozing from it.
Yeah, I definitely get that vibe. I love the music. Even in the even in the trailers and everything, the music is great. Everything, it's just like Stilt, right? Just like everything's upbeat and bouncy and colorful, and we don't get that a lot in gaming these days. Everything's dark and depressing and dreary, which is right up my alley. But every so often, you need a break from that shit. Oh, thank you. Tatum said it's 20, and then Sun WTF said it's 15. So thank you guys. You really helped out.
It's
Wonderful.
one of those.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hold on. Okay, everybody agrees now. It's $15, which is like the perfect price for this game, right? Because it's. I would say when you get into it, you're like, oh, this is a little basic in terms of like like you're not running around. You picture like environments and everything when you think of a 3D platformer, right? Like big worlds or whatever, and like it's a lot of it's called sky climb. You're out kind of up there in the sky. There's not like green hill zone and loops to run through and all that shit that you'd expect in a platformer. It's a lot of like grabbing onto blocks and hurling yourself towards the destination. But yeah, so $15 seems like the right price for this.
It's a lot of content for $15 when you consider all those levels and then the multiplayer mode. It's going to be a lot for $15 in my opinion.
Now, yeah. So I haven't experienced the boss fight yet. I've only played like the first 3 or 4 levels, just again to get a feel for it, like you did. But the boss fights are going to be what make it or break it for me. Now, as Ryan says, the real question is, how does this compare to Toss? I'm going to tell you, man. Like Toss, I think Toss was a great game that needed like maybe twice as much content. Maybe it needed some boss fights. Like maybe if you could somehow shove this game into Toss, I would be a big fan of it. But like Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. I feel like I don't like this more than Toss yet, but those are just like very, very surface level impressions.
More to come. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Subscribe.
Play Stilt in the meantime. We'll keep you posted. Jack Kelly says Toss is by far the most underrated game on PSVR2, and I might agree with you. I think I gave Toss like a 6 or a 6.5 or something like that, and I do feel like in retrospect maybe it deserved a little bump on that. Who doesn't like a little bump? Wes, I think it's time for us to head over to the PlayStation blog now that we've got this new random burst of energy. PlayStation blog was very, very active today. And
Indeed.
I think we should start with our headline story, which is new info on Metro VR Awakenings. Before we dive into this, first, are we reading this together for the first time? Because I kind of skimmed it, to be honest with you.
I read it. I read all the way through it.
Look at you preparing for this shit. So I will say what I was most concerned about with Metro VR Awakenings was that this game feels like a Metro game, that they didn't like ditch any of the mechanics from the flat screen Metro games, and they gave us something really here. Let me see, just make sure we can read this whole thing. There we go. That they gave us something that really felt like a Metro game, and I feel like this entire blog post is saying, "Hey Brian, don't worry, shit's good." So I really hope this is something we can trust. But let me bring this up and we can read through it, man. I feel like that's what we're going to be doing for most of today is just reading through the PlayStation blog
There's
post.
a lot.
Because
There's a lot to read.
Yeah, and it was a good day, man. It was a good day on the PlayStation blog. Say what you will about Sony's marketing. Sometimes the blog posts are awesome.
It seems like it's starting to sink in what the perception of their platform is, and that they are putting forth a little bit of effort now. Even in like these blog posts, they're referencing like the fact that they just recently had, given us a lot of information on Behemoth, as in to say, hey, remember guys, we just gave you another banger. Now here's some more bangers. It seems like while they might not be putting their money where their mouth is, they're at least putting their mouth out there a little bit more now.
Nice. You know who else puts their mouth out there a little bit more now? All right, an exclusive talk
wherever your money is. That's exactly right.
Go Games on gameplay, story, and more. This is from Gillian McAllister, manager, content communications at Sony Interactive Entertainment. I'm actually really surprised that this is coming to us from Sony themselves and not from somebody at Vertigo. Sorry, more sirens on my end. Please ignore the cops. The post-apocalyptic survival horror Metro series, based on the best-selling sci-fi novel series of the same name by Dmitry Glukhovsky, I nailed that, plunge players into an oppressively dark and dank underground network in the ruins beyond. Highly immersive and critically acclaimed, the franchise spawned 3 games to date. Before year's end, that count will reach 4. Announced at State of Play this past January, Vertigo Games, creator of Arizona Sunshine After the Fall, revealed it has spent the last few years working on an all-new game built for PSVR2. Metro Awakening is a standalone story set prior to the events of the original title, Metro 2033. I sat down with creative director Martin de Ronde. We're going to go with that. And game director Samar Louis. Neither one of those is correct. To discuss more about how this would be adapted to VR and how they're keeping the title authentic to the series. One of the first things we did when we embarked on this project was to reach out to Dimitri, explains de Ronde, for us, almost like we were expecting him to come in and come up with another story for the game that was in line with the other Metro games. But instead, he came up with a very, very personal, emotional story for a new character. Uh-oh. Sorry, does this scream Call of the Mountain to anybody?
Just keep reading. Keep reading.
It also meant that our focus started to shift from taking a straightforward approach to a more story-heavy and story-driven approach to this particular game. And of course, the Metro series has always been known for the story that differentiates from other first-person shooters out there. But this time around, I think Dimitri really wanted to make sure that the story and the development of the characters was even more important. Part of the onboarding process for every team member was to play the games, of course, explains Louis. So we took a look at what the strengths are of the franchise, specifically which of those strengths are translatable to VR. And some of those things we noticed in Dynamic that noticed is the dynamic that they have between stealth and combat, and always making sure that you're on your toes and that you're never really sure when people are going to spot you. That's something that works very, very well in VR. There's just something about creeping up on enemies, listening to what they're talking about. And of course, the nature of VR, you can physically sit behind cover. Maybe you can peer through a hole in the cover, and then you can spy on your enemies. But rest assured, for everybody that's a little bit more trigger happy, there's plenty of classic Metro action in the game. This is okay. This is really good so far, Wes. Right, making sure that people that are working on the game have actually played the other games in the series is probably, it sounds like common sense, but so frequently, I don't know why this brings up movies to me so quickly. So frequently, somebody's making a movie based on an IP, and then they say, "Yeah, I've never played the Resident Evil games, or I've never played Tomb Raider, or I've never done this." And then you're like, "Wow, how in the world did you get your hands on this IP? Why are you allowed to make a movie based on something you have no familiarity with?" And it drives the fans nuts. So, to me at least, this is like the greatest news we could possibly hear right off the bat.
Right, and it's a larger problem in VR in general, and it has been historically that developers um, try to basically break the game and rebuild it for VR. And basically, a lot of the times they end up stripping out everything that made the series great to begin with in an effort to nerf the game for new players instead of concentrating on delivering these classic franchises to people who already play VR. And I think that certain developers are starting to catch up on this fact that we don't want some light version of the game that lets you climb ladders and shit. We want these games to come into VR and we want to be in those worlds playing that same game. And I think that this might be a good example, the next good example of a studio that's finally catching up to what players want.
Really hope so. Really hope so. It's been I would say a slow evolution for Vertigo games, but there has been an evolution there, and
Yeah.
it's and I'm really hoping that this is the game that makes me go, yes, now have faith in whatever Vertigo does. So the messaging so far is great. They continue to go, they say, but in Metro Awakening, our protagonist is not necessarily a combat expert. With that in mind, it also fits to have a bit of a slower pace to the combat versus narrative than the original Metro series. We're very happy that 4A helped us fantastically well with supplying all the assets that they have from those games. We were able to either use some of those assets directly or use them as a reference for most of the stuff that we built in game. It's helped ensure that the game looks the way it looks. There are assets that we looked at and we wanted to use them specifically because they play a role in the mainland series. We want to reuse them again in our game. You want to make a game that fans recognize those elements. I'm stumbling through words. My eyes are playing tricks on me. And then there were obviously stuff that serves the purposes as reference. And then there's stuff that we're almost regressing in terms of what would have looked like X number of years before the events in the mainline series. It's a lot of words. This is a long article, Wes. This is a really long article. Was there anything else?
You want a break?
Yeah, you want to take over? You want to read?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Let's do it.
Because this next part is important to me, and I think it shows a perfect example of them learning a lesson directly from Arizona Sunshine too.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks. I love the dark modes on these websites, but sometimes the white text on the black background make my eyes bug out of my head. So thank you.
You're basically constantly looking for ammo, chuckles Louis when asked if like the previous game, sourcing bullets is going to be an ongoing concern. We have this beautiful environment. We have this beautiful world. Our art is made sure that there's detail to explore, but you also need a reason to explore. And the main reason to explore every nook and cranny is just to find bullets. We figured it would be best to hide those in small packets, so you won't necessarily find full clips all the time.
Nice.
Instead, you'll be finding single bullets out here, a couple of bullets there. And we've also made an effort to make sure that in some cases, there's a bit of environmental storytelling around how that ammo got there and something that triggers your imagination. The philosophy that we've taken along for this also that basically, if you look everywhere, you'll probably have enough bullets to get through your combat encounters. If you just look on the critical path, you'll probably have a better shot. You'll have to be a better shot. And if you don't scavenge at all, then you're going to have a hard time. But of course, you can always fall back on stealth. And if you're successful at that, that's always an option.
Taking a quick break for a second, Wes. This is for people like you and for me, who whenever the game says "let's go right," we're like, "Hold on, we got to go left for 20 minutes first." This is exactly what I think you and I are looking for. If bullets are that valuable in the game, then it's going to make exploration very rewarding, and you're gonna want to scavenge as much as possible. This is right up my alley.
Yeah, I want to explore, but I need to have a reason for it.
Yep.
That's exactly how I play a game. I go into a game and I look around and I see a corridor and I go, okay, that looks like the way I'm supposed to go.
Yep.
So I'm going to go everywhere else first, and then we'll go that way.
Yeah. Don't you hate it when you think you're supposed to go right and then you go left and then like it's like left was the way you were supposed to go and you hit a checkpoint and you're like, no, I want to go back there.
Yeah, you can't go back. I did that in Arizona Sunshine a couple of times.
Yeah.
Arizona Sunshine 2, that is. And they put you through these things that you can't, you climb out a window, you can't climb back through it or whatever.
Yep. It happened to me a couple times too, I think.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep going.
Translating the tactile nature of Metro to PSVR2. Wiping your gas mask clean, pulling out maps, peering at ammo counts on guns rather than UI helped immerse you in Metro. I ask whether that makes for an easy VR adaptation. Vertigo's research proves it can't be a like for like. It's an interesting point you bring up about wiping clean your gas mask because Metro is such a tactile world. It was obviously for us something that we definitely wanted to try and incorporate in the game. We tried to come up with an alternative way of wiping clean your gas mask that I think fans will very much still appreciate, even though it's a slightly different version, and wiping it on your face and wiping it when you have to have it on your face. We chose to keep a lot of our UI and interactions as diegetic, whatever that means, diegetic as possible, continues Louis. For example, if you want to see how many bullets you have left in your gun, we could have put a counter on it, but we didn't do that. Instead, we opened up the clip so that you can actually see how many bullets are in there. If you want to know how many bullets are in your clip, you have to pull it out. It's just a bit more immersive when you go into a combat encounter and you're like, okay, let's prepare. I'll pull out my clip and check. That's going to be enough for this one. And then you snap it back in. If you want to put on your gas mask, we put it on the backpack. So you pull out your backpack by grabbing it from your shoulder. The gas mask is hanging from it. So you just grab it from there and put it on your face and stick it on. Those are the types of interactions that we were very keen on just making them as diegetic as possible.
It's so funny when people say diegetic, just like in normal conversation, because I feel like I'd never heard the word until about 2 years ago. And of course, every time I hear it now, it's always in reference to VR immersion, right? Making sure that there's not a ammo counter, making sure that, it's not just a list of inventory items, that they're actually physically there in your backpack, that kind of stuff. More sirens on my end. And so it's very cool. But we are entering an age now where every single VR game has you walking around with a backpack on. It's like, just grab it off. And here's all your stuff. Yeah. So, but it works. It works. So why fight it?
Exactly.
Yep.
The adaptive triggers are a great example of how you can boost the immersion even further because they give you just a tiny little bit of extra feedback as you fire your weapon. And our weapon designers actually had a lot of fun implementing it and tweaking for each weapon. Seems like a really small thing, but it's those kind of subtle elements that just make you forget that you're playing a game when it's just there, right? Another example is the haptic feedback. It gives you that little bit of added experience to make the intense things that happen to you in this game, to make them a bit more visceral. Here's something else. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like after the response they got for After the Fall on PSVR2, and just everyone like just raving about how great the adaptive triggers were, you got to figure that like Vertigo's like, we're never going back. Like this is going to be a focus in every game now.
Yeah, and I'm still waiting for the game that fully takes advantage of it with like your gun jamming and the trigger just doesn't pull. Like this is something that like I felt like was an example they brought up a lot when they were selling us on the idea of adaptive triggers, but it's not something that we've seen a lot in PSVR so far. But with games like this coming up and Ghost of Tabor, which we're seeing them drop a lot of teasers about PSVR2 here lately, even
Very
a new
true.
trailer. Yeah, I think that we're going to start seeing more things like that pop up in our games.
Yeah.
So this next section is about comfort settings. We want to focus on immersion, states Louis. So our default locomotion setting, we're offering 2 presets. So we have comfort and we have immersion. In immersion, the default locomotion setting is continuous stick movements with snap rotation. Of course, we offer settings that you can just change in the settings menu to make something even more immersive, such as continuous rotation. So, just really quickly, I don't why isn't smooth turning just defaulted in the immersive setting? Why don't people have to go in there and enable snap rotation to make it more comfortable? I don't get that.
I don't know.
It is fine as long as it's there.
Sony's so weird about this stuff.
Yeah, that's probably you're probably right about that.
Right.
If you want to have a bit more of a comfortable experience, then you can set your locomotion settings to teleportation. That said, we're not really shying away from pushing the boundaries of VR when it comes to creating a visceral experience. So, in immersion mode, you can also expect to be moved around a bed or knocked over to wake up unconscious on the floor, or even thrown off a rail car, for example. So that all sounds great.
I mean, listen, have you finished what's the haunted amusement park game?
No, but I've been thinking about it a lot lately.
Yeah, like if anybody who's finished that game, you know how great it is to be thrown around in VR. Like it's just like they took the training wheels off 2/3 of the way through the game and said, "Fuck you!" Like you're going to get thrown around now, and good luck. I hope it works out for you. Why can't I remember the name of the game? What is going on with me? I have 0 brain cells left.
Happy Funland.
Thank you.
Happy Funland.
Oh my god, what is wrong with me, dude? Somebody should fucking take over for me.
No, I'm basically waiting on my next opportunity to stream a game instead of doing a podcast, and that's probably what I'm going to play is
Nice.
Happy Funland and finish it.
So much better now.
Yeah.
And that's
so
kind of it, right? Do we get to the end?
That is the end of the article, although there is one more very interesting footnote that says this version of the interview was condensed for brevity. You can listen to a fuller version of the interview on the PlayStation podcast dropping this Friday.
Excellent.
So everyone who's interested in learning more about this game and getting super detailed information can tune into that podcast. And I'm sure we'll be talking about it more next Monday on Virtual Strangers.
Hell yeah. Go subscribe to Virtual Strangers, everybody. All right, man. Listen. The next story that I want to talk about is Frenzies, which is the game. Unless you had it, did you have anything else to say about Metro? I feel like
no, just that the more I hear about it, the more excited I get for it.
Yeah, same.
It seems like it's been in development for a long time from a capable studio, and it seems like they're saying all the right things, man. It's like Alien. Like the more I think about it, the more I hear about it, the more excited I get for it. And I think we're going to have a banger into this year. I think the Q3, Q4 is just going to be incredible for VR in general.
I agree with you, first and foremost. Yeah, dude. I don't know what it is about Alien VR, Rogue Incursion. I don't know what it is about that. I shouldn't be excited, right? I mean, like
Right.
Servios taught me not to be excited, but they've been MIA for so long. I just can't help but think that they were like, we need to make this game great. And so I'm very, very excited for that one.
Even just these teasers that don't even show anything, the sound effects and music that they're using for it
Mhm.
is just so spot on for the Alien series. It makes you feel like they're dialed in for this one.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll
Yep, I
see.
agree. And you already played Behemoth, man. Like you already know like how great that game's gonna like look and feel. And so you've got one up on me for sure. This is gonna be a great fall. I'm very excited.
Yeah, as am I.
Uh, so I put out a breaking news video this morning about End Dream's new game called Frenzies. This is a arena shooter. I believe it's 12 players or 14 players. I gotta get the stats up.
I think 12's right.
Is it nice? Here, let's get the trailer playing first. I need a roots. Why don't I have a roots? Here we go. So listen, we'll get into the blog post here in a minute. But Wes, what were your impressions when we got the press release for this a few days back? We saw the trailer for this a few days back. How you feeling about this being the next game from End Dreams?
I mean, I'm a fan of End Dreams. Let me start by saying that. They don't miss the mark much with me. That said, most people know that I am not a multiplayer kind of guy. Not to say that I don't enjoy playing multiplayer games. I do. But that isn't my go-to. I'm not one of these people that play with others every day or even every week for that matter. So I mean a little bit of disappointment on that end. I would much rather see another story-driven single player adventure game from them, or even an action game like they've been giving us lately. I'm still waiting on that full-fledged, fully scoped out single player game from them because they've given us greatness in small bites before. I want to see them put it all together for an 8+ hour thing, right?
Right.
So this isn't that. With that said, there are things I like about this. I mean, I think the art style looks really cool. I think it's something that's going to translate well across platforms. It's going to look great on PlayStation. It'll probably look very good on MetaQuest 3 as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's always a concern when a VR company puts out a multiplayer only game. I
Worse
would
than not
much
sending one.
rather,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, there's endless examples of
Right.
this. Um, there's I always would rather have a game that has both a single player mode and a multiplayer mode because at least at that point there's some value to the players if the multiplayer doesn't catch on. See, for players and for studios alike, going multiplayer only is always a gamble, right? Because you never know if it's truly going to take off. And truth be told, more of them fail than actually succeed.
Very true.
A lot more of them failed. Um, I think that they're doing the right thing by making it multi-platform right off the top. You've got to have those Quest players in there, or you're pretty much guaranteed going to fail. Um, you got to have full multi. You have to have full lobbies to be successful with a multiplayer game. Um, I like that they're trying to do something different. They're building on their run and cover mechanic from those previous games, Fract and Synapse, which is one of the better points of those two games.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it's cool that they're building a multiplayer thing around that. Um, I think it's cool that they're trying to do something different with the oversized guns and the crazy ammo and original gameplay modes. Um, that's all great. My concern with it um, is it going to provide enough variety to keep players entertained over 30 runs, 50 runs, 100 runs? Is this something that people are going to be wanting to play for months instead of weeks? That I don't know. Their answer to that is a randomizer. They're randomizing the levels, they're randomizing the game modes, Like it's 5 rounds for each match. You don't pick what the game modes or maps are. It just randomizes all of that, and that's their attempt to keep it fresh. But at the same time that they're attempting to keep it fresh that way, they're also taking an awful lot of choice away from the players who might not want to play capture the flag or team deathmatch, or there might be a couple of levels that they don't particularly care for, but now you're forcing them to play. So I don't know. There's a lot of up in the air in here. It could be great, but it could be something that's just good for a little while. Only time will tell.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on every single point, honestly. I mean, from the top down, you know, I'm much more of a single player gamer, and so like this announcement was first thing I thought was, whoa, 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 End Dreams, fucking cool your jets, man. Like, like, is this really what you want to be doing with your time? Um, but I feel like my feelings about this evolved over the last few days. First, I'm just happy that we finally know what Astrobot's going to look like when he's a teenager. Like, because that's what all of these characters look like. They look like a bunch of teenagers wearing pajamas with Astrobot faces. And like, wow, you've really grown up, young man. Um, and I love the purple blood because that was something like that hot pink purple blood from the Danganronpa series. I know some people hated it, but I absolutely love. I don't know what it is about that. I just love the look of it. So as far as like the look of this game, super, you know, super into it.
Yeah, me too. I
I
think it looks great.
I think the zip lining from Fract, the climbing from Fract and Synapse, that's all in here, and that's going to make shit great. Anyone who didn't play Fract or Synapse, the cover shooter mechanic is awesome. Being able to just grab basically any piece of the environment and then just like lower yourself, right? It kind of eliminates the need for even like a crouch button, right? I'm sure there's going to be a slide button, there's going to be a crouch button, whatever. But like just being able to grab onto the environment and like using it as cover, it's never been more seamless in VR. This is exactly how you want a shooter to play, and Dreams killed it with this. What I'm really happy about is that this is not from End Dream Studio. This is not from Studio Elevation, right? This is not, despite the fact that the trailer is saying from the award-winning developers of Synapse and Fract. It's not really. And Nearlight is the developer behind Perfect and Shooty Fruity, and they were obviously given these mechanics that have already been very successful from other End Dreams games, and saying, "Here, you make a multiplayer shooter out of this." So, to me, this feels like the bonus End Dreams game. Right, this is not the next Synapse.
Right.
This is not the next Fract. I feel like we will get one of those games from End Dream Studio proper, and then who knows what Studio Elevation's working on. That's their AAA studio. We still haven't seen anything from them. So this feels like a nice little bonus game that we're getting to kind of like pad the time a little bit while we wait for End Dream's next big game. And if they price it right, I think it could be a lot of
That's the
fun.
next question. That was
Yep.
my next question. How much is this going to cost? Is it going to be $20, 15? Is it going to be a free to play? I think this could be
It's gonna be 30.
popular. It could be popular as a free to play. It's
Yeah.
DOA if they make it 30.
Yep.
Like this will not survive as a $30 game.
Yeah, dude, I think free to play is more sirens in my end. This would be a brilliant decision to make it free to play because it looks like there's a lot of stuff you can do with cosmetically speaking in this game, right? From
Yeah.
your outfit to the display on your face to the patterns on your guns, like this or your gun skins. All of this stuff looks very customizable, and it's like, hey, you know, if you want to charge for that shit, by all means, you know, as long as it's not pay to win, then great. I think that could be a great business model. The biggest problem multiplayer VR games have really isn't maintaining a player base. It's getting the players in for the first time. Right? It's like you got to get people to actually play your fucking game before you keep them there and give them an incentive to stick around. And I feel like that most of these multiplayer shooters in VR never get to step one. They never get the people in and try to be able to retain them. So free to play is the way to go here. I just really hope that if it's not free to play, that it's cheap, right? That it's like one of those.
Yeah.
We saw it with Solaris Off-World Combat. They made that game ridiculously cheap. I think it was $15 on PSVR1 with like a 70% launch discount for Plus or some shit like that. It was so cheap to get it on during the first couple weeks, and they still had like sub triple digits in that game. Like
That's what I kept. That's what I kept thinking about watching this trailer. For some reason, Solaris just kept
Yep.
running across my mind while I was watching it.
You think this will support the aim controller? Just kidding. Remember the aim controller? I miss the aim controller.
I do miss the aim controller. I've been thinking about it a lot lately, honestly.
Everyone in the chat just shed a tear simultaneously. Listen, I think we just talked about Frenzies enough. I don't think we need to read through the blog post. I think we covered that pretty extensively. Definitely in the chat. I've been trying to keep an eye on the chat, see who's excited. It seems like there's a good amount of excitement for the game. Mark Poppin Pringles Leaf says, "I'm going with $34.99." All right. Man, Twitcher, the Deuce Juice Game Cat says, "Just bring Shooty Fruity to PSVR2." Yeah, I mean, seriously, what are we doing with our lives? Let's see, with a level 2 membership, Violator, the Game Cat Metal Messiah says, "It's great to catch you live again." Yeah, the rumors of my death were pretty exaggerated. Don't believe everything you hear. I just want to say hi to everyone. Love the stream as always. Thank you, Violator. We love you too. All right, what else we got to talk about here? Oh, dude, I know what we got to talk about. This is great. Today on the PlayStation blog, the team over at Mighty Eyes posted 8 new minutes of Wanderer, the Fragments of Fate. Wes, you may recall me saying, stop showing content, stop showing gameplay from Wander the Fragments of Fate. I don't want to see any more. I feel like we're already ruining some of the new locations and puzzles and people we'll encounter. So please, for the love of God, Mighty Eyes, stop showing us stuff. And then this video came out today, and I said, I take it all back. I am so happy that we have all of this new footage, because I don't know, man. Like, this just looks so good. Let me go full screen on this so we can all admire.
How would you describe the art style here, man? Is it realistic or is it cartoony? Is it both? I think it's both.
So more sirens on my end. There is something cartoony about this. It's somehow more realistic, I think, because of the fidelity that they're achieving on PSVR2. So there's something more realistic because of the graphical fidelity, but in terms of the actual style, I think they somehow, there's like this weird cell shaded aspect to what I'm seeing here.
Yes.
And I'm so confused by it, because it works, but like, what was that decision? And I'm really happy you brought it up, man, because I never would have brought it up if you didn't say something. Why am I getting cell shaded from this when there's like so much detail, when there's so much texture work going on? It high resolution, everything looks like really lived in, and it's not something you would ever look at and say, oh, this is cell shaded. Why are we both getting that vibe from this?
Yeah, it looks like a highly detailed comic book. Like when you see these computer programs that can take a photograph and turn it into like comic book style. It's just like it's like a highly detailed comic booky look to it.
Yeah.
And the way that they kind of overlay that with, lighting and all of these other real life realistic tricks, it makes it seem like it's going to be immersive enough. And it also seems like it's something that's going to be scalable enough that they're able to do something with it on Quest as well, right? Which I think is probably the why they decided to go with this, right?
Interesting.
They started with that baseline and then just piled on a bunch of detail for PC and PlayStation. I don't know. I kept noticing it. Like I saw this 8 minutes. I was like, all right, we're going to get a look at this now and really look at what it's like. And I made it big on my big screen and turned the resolution all the way up. And I was just like, is this realistic or is it not? I mean, it looks really good, but this don't look realistic to me. It looks cartoony kind of.
Gustavo
I just wanted your take on it.
Gustavo in the chat says Wonder looks pretty damn good. Grimrock says comic book. Bad Bantha says realistic stylized. Sun WTF says in art it would be categorized as illustrative. Um, so
Hmm.
it, yeah, it Spooky Yuki saying it looks like The Last of Us 2 art style graphics. Here's the thing that I'm getting from this, even more so than the style. Um, the resolution looks like it's through the roof.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure they confirmed already that it's 90 frames per second. Please don't quote me on that, but I do think this is going to look brilliant in the headset. But what I'm getting from this is the graphical fidelity of a Red Matter 2 with the detail that you didn't quite get in that game, because that game was a little bit more sterile with the space stations. There's a lot of hard edges, right? This world looks way more lived in by comparison. And so you're getting more detail. You're getting the dirt, the grime, the shit just kind of piled up everywhere, right? The whole world looks a lot less sterile. And so it seems like the perfect balance between, like a Red Matter 2 and like a Resident Evil Village, right? Really combining those two things. And then you end up with Wanderer. And having already played the original PSVR 1 game, I'm like, this is it's just like all these. I'm sorry, man. It's just like all these little things that they kind of threw in there, and you're almost like, well, why would they include poking a dude with a stick, right? Like, why would they include that in this 8 minutes? But everything they included here seems like it was included for a reason. Like poking a dude with a stick is like, oh, they included physics. Like when you poke the dude with the stick, it's like these like kind of ragdoll physics going on there. You're just laying there and you can like poke the dead body. It's like, so it seems like everything they included here was included for a reason, which makes these 8 minutes like so like you just really want to just digest it all and process every second that they've shared with us, because it feels like it's all very intentional. 8 minutes sounds like a lot, but it might be the best trailer I've ever seen of because of that, because they're purposefully showing all this for a reason.
Yeah, and they're not showing a ton of like new.
Right.
Like it's they're treating this as if it's a new release, as if we have never seen these levels before. That's basically what they're going through, is showing you all the levels from the original game. If there are new levels, they're not showing them here. They're just showing you all the old ones. But they you do notice some a detail here and a detail there that wasn't in the original. Um, it still doesn't really quite answer my questions about this game, and I don't think I will get the answer to that until I play it, which is there enough new about this for someone who's already paid $40 for it to pay another $40 to play through it again? Now, I loved the original. It was our game of the year that year. It was one of the best story adventures I've ever played in VR,
Absolutely.
and I haven't played it again since. So I'm down to play through it again. What is obviously going to be a more detailed, more polished, fully fleshed out version of the game. Um, I'm still not sure that this is going to be enough to be considered a full blown remake more than just a remaster. I think it's going to be somewhere in between, actually. I think it's going to be more than just a remaster, but not quite like a full blown remake that you would see in something like Resident Evil 4, for example.
Right.
Um, I'm looking forward to it. I don't know that at the end of it, I'm going to be telling people, you know what, you should go buy this again because it's a completely different game. I don't know that it will be.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a good question. Luckily, my brain sucks, and I have forgotten more about Wanderer than I remember. And so it'll be interesting. I think like they're showing right now this puzzle that happens in Germany. I think and you actually have to like take notes on a chalkboard or a clipboard uh, to solve the puzzle, which I love, man. If you're gonna give us a complicated puzzle in VR that requires you to write something down, it's like give us the means to do that within the game. But it's so easy for them to like to say, hey, let's just change the number, let's change the way you find the answer to this puzzle. And so I'm really hoping that they are making this
Yes.
game for people like us who love the first one, love the original, and want a new experience when going into this. It's like, hey, the puzzles are similar, but maybe getting to the solution is slightly different. I would be totally down for that.
Yeah, I would too. The puzzles were not um, super hard to begin with, but it was fun to solve them because the way that the pieces of the puzzles kind of fit together and the way that you get to the solution was the fun part.
Yeah.
With that said, the the pump house level I did find particularly challenging.
Yes,
So
I
hopefully
agree.
that maintains. Um, so yeah, hopefully they switch it up quite a bit. It does seem like there's more combat in this. Like it seems like you're killing a lot more dudes in these trailers than I remember killing in this game.
Yep,
So that's certainly going to be a plus.
agreed. Uh, this does come with a downside. This new footage. There's been another delay for the game. It had already been delayed once. I believe it was supposed to come out in August. I think. Or maybe September. There's too many games to keep track of. But it got delayed
Yeah, it
again
was
until October 31st.
yeah. Yeah, it was delayed till mid-September. I don't remember what the original date was for it, but it had been delayed till mid-September,
Yep.
and they basically just tacked another 6 weeks onto it, which kind of sucks. But I do respect them for recognizing it way ahead of time and not waiting until the last minute when people are ready to buy it and then jerking the rug out from under everyone. You know.
Looper as always has the facts. He says it was June and then September and now October 31st. Listen, we say the same thing on every single Gamescast. Just what you said. Take all the time you need. Make sure the game is done. We would much rather have it come out months from now and have it be complete than to get it today and get patches for the next month in order to get it up to speed. I know that's definitely what I want. The only downside is, Wes, we were just talking earlier about how fucking crazy fall's going to be for PSVR2. Is, I mean, for me personally, there's 10 minimum must-have titles coming in fall, and this just kind of got pushed suddenly a little bit into the mix with all of those other games coming out. So I'm getting a little bit nervous in terms of, you know, being able to cover all this stuff properly, and not just concern for the channel and for my well being, but also for the game's well being. You know, it's so easy to drop this game. What if this is the same time that Zombie Army VR comes out? What if Metro is coming out at the same time? What if Behemoth comes out at the same time? Right? Like this is you just don't want to see a game like Wanderer get lost in the shuffle because it's just
It's
too
dangerous.
good. Yep.
It's a legitimate concern. Because yeah, I think if they pick the right release date, this game will do well. But they're not going to be able to hold up against bigger franchises like that. Um, I'm not saying that they won't do well, but they won't do as well, certainly. And especially given the fact that this is a remake, this is a game that people have already played, like I just mentioned. If they and they're coming out in the Halloween season when people are going to be playing a lot of horror games and stuff too. On top of that, um, so yeah, it's a legitimate concern. We don't know what the answers are just yet because we don't know when any of these games are coming, but it's certainly dangerous for them in terms of immediate sales. Like I think you know marketing's important, choosing the right launch day is important, all this stuff is important, but at the end of the day, over the long term, if you make a great game, people will buy it. They may not buy it on launch day if it's up against Metro or Zombie Army, like you mentioned, but eventually, they'll buy it in November sometime instead. So as long as they get the game right, that's the most important thing. And waiting to launch until it's right is the right thing to do because then you don't have that negativity, that negative opinion hanging over it. And you know, again, a good game always sells in the long run.
Uh, Wes, we've been seeing trailers for the Fragments of Fate for so long now. I feel like my memory of the original Wanderer on PSVR1 has been corrupted by all the video footage I've been watching. Um, there was no climbing at all in the original Wanderer, right? Because it seems like there's so much of
Um,
it. Even when you'd have to teleport when climbing through a window, you'd have to teleport through the window. When you're climbing down a ledge, you'd have to teleport down a ledge. I don't think there was any climbing at all. And there's so
I don't
much climbing
remember.
shown in this trailer that just makes me happy.
I don't remember. I remember scaling sides of buildings and stuff, but you're right. It may have been on like ladders and scaffolding type stuff where you're doing some teleportation. I don't quite remember
Yeah.
if there was like physical climbing in it or not.
Crumbquest says correct. Looper says there wasn't any climbing. We just need to have Looper like in a little video, like in the corner, just fact checking us 24/7.
We just need to upload him on our computers because he's clearly an AI.
Perfect. Matt York says Aces of Thunder this year, please. I would be shocked if it didn't come out this year. I think it would be one of those awesome holiday titles to convince people to buy a PSVR2. And I think that here's a pizza bet if anybody's willing to take it. I think that PSVR2 sold really well, and this is very anecdotally speaking, but I saw great numbers on Without Parole during the Days of Play sale when the headset dropped $100 and you get Netflix for a year for free or whatever it was. Things have been pretty stagnant on the channel in terms of like subscribers and view counts and all that stuff, and everything shot way up during the time that Days of Play happened. And so I think that Sony's going to notice that. They're going to see that the sale worked really, really well, and maybe we'll see a permanent price drop before the end of the year for PSVR 2 and get that thing down to $400 permanently or $450 permanently, whatever it is.
Yeah, I hope so. I think that needs to happen yesterday. So
yeah. Yesterday meaning last year.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah. The Virtual Resistance with the level 1 membership says game looks good. He's referring to Frenzies. Says Quest Squeakers will ruin it. No, they won't ruin it because you should join our fucking Discord. He's already part of it. I'm just giving him a hard time. Join our Discord and come play with PSVR2 gamers. I'm sure that Professor will. Yeah, exactly. Who plays public? Squeakers.
I don't.
Squeakers play public. Wes, that's the answer. Yeah, they'll play public. Just come over to Discord and say, hey, who wants to play a game of Frenzies? And the 7 people who are still playing that game will be like, I'll check it out. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Oh, man. Violator, the Game Cat Metal Messiah with the $10 tip says, I know I'm not supposed to get caught up with the whole pre-order thing, but I couldn't help myself. Amazon has Behemoth physical available, and I got it. He got it. December 24 release. I'm guaranteeing that's a placeholder. I'm not saying it's not coming out in December. I'm just saying that like it's it may come out in November. Who knows? So.
It may come out in October, like PlayStation said it would.
Oh, right. They did say that, didn't they?
They did. It never got redacted either.
Ooh. I like it. October 31st. You heard it here first. It's going to be competing with Wonder, the Fragments of Fate. What game are you going to play? I want to hear it. Sound off in the chat. Thanks, Rypop. Rypop posted the link to the Discord. So if somehow you're not a member of our Discord yet, take advantage. The link's right there. Twitcher, it's not all about you, Twitcher. He says, could you stop rolling the Wanderer footage? He's trying not to watch the Wanderer footage. Sure, let's switch to a different story.
There aren't too many spoilers in it, honestly. They retread a lot of what you saw in the first game.
Here, you know what? For the next 8 minutes, Wes, let's verbally transcribe what's happening for Twitcher in every single scene. So he's walking down this hallway, looks very Last of Us. Okay, he's looking around. Screen fades to black. He's now on a lower level, looking at. Okay, I'm sorry, Twitcher. I'll stop now. I'm not really sorry. Suck it. All right. Great news coming out of the Arken Age Discord. One of the developers over there said that they're looking to get the PSVR beta rolling as early as the end of this week. Dude, listen. If you're out there and you're sleeping on Arken Age, right? Like you're thinking about all the games that are coming out this fall and you know, maybe this holiday, and you're thinking about Behemoth, you're thinking of Aces of Thunder, you're thinking about Zombie Army, you're thinking about Wander, right? I think this might be the first game out of the batch of amazing PSVR 2 games coming. So I would say if you're sleeping on it, take a good look at this trailer. Twitcher, open your eyes, see if this is for you. This is coming from the same team who brought us Shadow Legend and Mervils, but as we've said many times, like this is a studio that like is obviously just kind of killing it in terms of being like, hey, they released a game like Mervils, very N64 platformer, and then with their next game, Shadow Legend, they it was this massive leap forward, right? We were so excited for this massive leap forward because it was like they coined the term VRAF. It was just an amazing game. At the time, it had great combat. I don't think that aged well because we've gotten such better combat since. But all sorts of reasons to explore. There was tons of shit to find in each of the areas. And now what they're doing is taking that and they're making even better combat. They're making it. It's not an open world game, but it's open area, and you can see that there's just so much. There's just so much happening in this game that it's yet another massive leap forward beyond Shadow Legend. This is what we like to see with our VR developers. Vitruvius is the embodiment of the evolution of a VR studio. Like they went from being like super, super tiny and making very, very indie games to making shit that I think personally is going to rival anything we see on the platform this year. And it's coming to us very soon, right? They're starting beta as early as this week. How excited for this are you, Wes?
I am super excited for this. I agree with everything you just said. It's among my very most highly anticipated games of the year. It just looks so good. And it does seem to be something that is being developed around PlayStation VR,
Yeah.
which I think is great as well. So, yeah, man, I'm all for high end VR. It's what I'm all about. And this certainly seems high end to me.
Yeah, and I mean, again, a studio that really, really listens when the community talks. This game was originally being developed, 60 frames reprojected to 120, and man, it was like we were going through a reprojection gate, and we just told them, listen, if you can get this thing up and running at 90, then you're going to make a lot of people on PSVR2 happy. And immediately it was like, oh shit, yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely, we'll make that happen, and they did. So very, very happy that this is going to be a good-looking, smooth-running game on the headset. It's another one that I tried not to really pay too close attention to in terms of trailers because I don't want to ruin too much for myself. I have no idea how like narrative heavy this game's going to be, but they are saying it's like at least 8-hour game, I think, which is exactly what you want to hear. That's kind of like the perfect number these days, at least.
Yeah, I'm the same. I like about 10 to 12, 8 to 12, 8 to 10, around in there. That's I used to my baseline was 5, but I've graduated a little bit from it now, and I like it to be a little bit longer. But I don't need a 20 to 30 hour game. I'm closer to 10. So sounds good.
Jordan F in the chat says, "Can PSVR2 players join the beta?" To my knowledge, no. PC beta. Sadly, I think it's going to be the game reviewers who end up being the PSVR2 beta testers. With a studio this small, I think that's just kind of like what ends up happening. It's not something I enjoy, but hopefully, hopefully, there's not too many bugs to work out. I don't really remember there being any bugs in Shadow Legends. Not that game had the scope of this one. There's way more ways to break a game like Arken Age, I'm sure. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone in the chat seems to be pretty hyped. We got Violator, the Game Cat Metal Messiah with the whoa, no. Am I just reading the same tip again? I already hearted it and everything. I don't know what's going on. Yep. I'm sorry. And then we got a new trailer for Ghost of Tabor. I think it was a cinematic trailer. I don't even have it downloaded. What is going on? That's a shame. But we did get a little bit more information over on their Discord. We found out that it's going to be published by Beyond Frames. Perp was the original publisher on this, and apparently something changed. And then over on Twitter, I saw that the port is being done by VR Monkey, which is strange because they didn't reveal that in their Discord. Wes, the implication that I feel like I'm getting from a lot of Tabor players is that the PSVR2 version of this game is scheduled to launch simultaneously with the next wipe, which I believe is the end of August. So we could be way closer to the release of Ghost of Tabor than anticipated. I think I was thinking September or October, and I don't think that's the case.
Well, they don't like to wipe more frequently than they have to, because obviously the players they love it and they hate it at the same time, right? Because the whole point of the game is to acquire stuff.
Yeah.
acquire just as much stuff as you possibly can. Obviously it's bittersweet losing that and having to start all over again. But I mean, at the same time, there's the rub. That's what keeps people coming back. Now you get to start all over again and acquire it, and there's new people, right? Because we're bringing in new platforms. Um, so yeah, I think it's if there's definitely a wipe scheduled for August, it will probably happen during that. If they're not exactly ready to go at that point, they'll probably delay the wipe. Like if you see the wipe get knocked back
Uh,
2 weeks or a month, that's probably why. It's probably because the PlayStation version needs a little more work. But you can tell that it's getting close. They've been very active on social media, putting out little teasers that to some people might not look like anything, but if you're a PlayStation VR gamer, you know what you're looking at, and you can tell that they're teasing. Um, so yeah, it feels like it's soon, and I know they've been working on it for a long time. So yeah, end of August sounds accurate to me. So get excited, those of you who like extraction shooters.
yeah. Man, I feel like I hear the same conversation from everyone who talks about Tabor with me. I see Son in the chat. He was in voice chat the other day, parroting this exact same thing. The same conversation I've had with everybody. Even the people who love this game understand that it's going to be very, very divisive, right? But the people who, because it's just a hardcore fucking shooter, right? Like they're
It
not pulling
is.
any punches, and so, but the people who love it, for anybody who's like, man, I need to get a lot of hours out of my game. The people who love it have spent hundreds of hours in this game, hundreds, and so
Yes.
like I just hope that translates to PSVR2, and I hope that enough PSVR2 players find the attraction to it, get into it, live in it, as apparently most people are doing.
You have to.
Yeah, and just really, really, really give it the time that it deserves. I've only spent about God 4, 5, 6 hours with Elvert, and I went in and played this on Quest and PC when we previewed it like I don't know, a year ago. I don't even remember.
It's such a different game now from when you played it. I don't even think that it was in full release on Quest at that time.
I don't think so.
Um, it was like the early days of Quest, and it was very buggy, and
Yep.
a
The
lot of
frame rate
things were
was
missing from it.
horrible.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's way better now. There's been multiple new maps added in since I've played it, and no, you're right. It will be divisive. If you're into realism, it's probably the most realistic shooter that I've ever played in VR. But with that realism comes a lot of tedium,
Yep.
right? There's a lot of management that you have to do in the game. Um, and yeah, it's one of those games that like if you're going to get into it, then this is all you're going to play. Like you're going to play it every day, and you're going to play it for hours every day, and that's the people that play this game. That's what they do. So it won't be for everyone, but the people that it is for, they're going to be fanatical for it. And yeah,
And I know it's going to happen. I am going to get into it. I'm going to struggle with the learning curve, as I always do, because if there's a learning curve, I am the archetypical dumbass gamer who's just like, wait, what am I supposed to, what, where am I supposed to go? How do I do this? Wait, what's the difference between a magazine and a clip? I don't know this shit, right? Like this, I'm fucking real dumb when it comes to games sometimes, and apparently guns. And so I like, thank goodness we have so many people who are so hardcore about this game already in our community, because I'm going to need to go in there and go through the tutorials, and then like they're going to need to take me by the hand in order for me to get a review out at a decent time. And I'm going to play it nonstop for probably like a week, right? I'm going to get like 60, 70 hours in a week, and I'm going to review it. And then sadly, I'm never going to get back to it, just like Pavlov, despite how much I love it, because there's just going to be that next game that's going to come out, and I'm going to feel real bad every time an update happens. And I'm like, no, I want to get back in. And then I never do. But having already spent some time with the, like, as you said, the somewhat primitive version on Quest last year, I know I'm already going to love it, right? I do. I know I'm going to love it. And I just really hope that the PSVR 2 port is like just pristine. You know what I mean? Like, I really hope they put everything into it, because this is one of the biggest games on other VR headsets, and it's their game to lose on PSVR2. Don't screw it up.
They have everything they need here to make it the best version. So let's hope they do.
Yeah, agreed. Wes, am I missing anything? It's been it's been a crazy couple weeks. Even today, it's just been kind of crazy with the news. Am I missing anything? I don't want to call it quits on Gamescast till I know we covered everything we were supposed to cover.
I want to say that you're not missing anything, but let's pretend that you are, because I never did pick the game that you told me to pick. So you're gonna give me a minute to find a good one here.
Excellent. Oh, god damn it. I keep pushing the wrong button. I keep forgetting there's only two of us. There we go. Yeah. So, okay. So just as a recap for anyone just tuning in, don't forget, guys, this Sunday is going to be an extra live show. It's going to be me and John Hibbins doing an episode of Viewer Takeover. So, listen, as much as we appreciate you guys supporting the channel and tipping during the show, we'll obviously read those tips and treat them as viewer takeover questions during Sunday's show. But if you want to get your viewer takeover question in for free, right? I'll be copying and pasting just like lots and lots and lots of them into the run of show. Make sure you go over to our Discord and use the viewer takeover channel and post your question there. That's where I'll be like grabbing questions from before the show. So pretty good. Oh, I know that look. I know that look is I've picked a game and you're fucked. That's that look. No.
I think you're gonna get it in 17 questions.
Good. Well, don't forget, guys, we do have a new way to play the show. To play the game. It is it's no longer 20 questions. It's the 5-minute challenge. And so let's do this. I'm gonna have infinite questions in 5 minutes. I need all the help I can possibly get. I feel like 4 minutes is the right amount here, but we're gonna do it with 5 minutes. We'll keep tweaking this. And please, a lot of you guys said that you really like the new format for this. So, but I want to keep getting the feedback. Please let me know if you hate this new format, if you like 20 questions better. All right, everybody, help me out in the chat. On my mark, get Des, go. Is this on PSVR 2?
No.
Okay, PSVR 1 only. Oh no, what did I do? I've already screwed up the time. No.
What'd you do?
Okay, good. I've clicked back. Okay, as PSVR 1, does it use the Move controllers?
It does.
Does it also use the DualShock?
No.
Okay. So aim support? Might as well throw it all out there.
No.
Okay. PSVR 1 Move game, is it horror?
No, that's 5.
Sci-fi?
Whoa. Maybe kinda. I mean, it's not super sci-fi, but it's a little.
I'm sorry, sci-fi-ish. All right.
It's a little fantastic, we'll say.
Okay. Was it a launch game? PSVR 1?
No.
Looper's asking if it's a shooter. Do you do a lot of shooting in this game? Pew pew pew.
You do.
You do. Okay, shooter. Okay. Let's see. What else? Is there any multiplayer component?
No.
Okay. God, I've forgotten the name of all these games. Are you in a vehicle?
Not. You may be at points in the game. Maybe. I don't even know that that's true.
This is going well.
We'll say no. There may be a part that I'm not remembering that you're in a vehicle for a moment, but no, for the most part, you're not in vehicles.
Stop AJing the fuck out of this. You're using up all my time, Wes.
I'm just trying to give you info. 10. That's 10.
Everybody in the chat saying frack. Did we say the name of this game during today's show?
Yes.
Was it made by End Dreams?
Yes.
Was it fracked?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes, Ryan. It was fracked. 13 questions.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Well done.
An absolute fucking shame that this is not on PSVR 2. More than any other reason, I mean, mostly because the cover based combat was so good, but also this art style. I mean, this is definitely cell shaded, and it really, really popped on
100%.
PSVR1. I think I remember playing this and being like, I feel like this is what PSVR2 games are going to look like, and I was wrong. PSVR2 games look way better than this. So,
Yep.
Mischievous Markio says, "Too easy, Wes. Too easy."
Yeah, it was. I had to pick something quickly, and then sometimes the easiest ones are the hardest to guess, so I went with it.
Nice. Well, I appreciate it, man. I do. I I think I needed someone to go easy on me today, and so I needed that. I needed that ego boost. Amazing. Great Tangent says Fract or a sequel should come to PSVR 2. I agree. Again, people are asking like why, why we haven't gotten Fract on PSVR 2, why we haven't gotten DLC for that game, why we haven't gotten DLC for Synapse. These are all Sony funded games. I don't know if Sony owns the IP. I don't think that's the case, but they
I
do.
don't think they do.
Right.
No.
So, but yeah, if Sony's not paying for the DLC to be made, or they're not paying for the port, then I don't think it's happening. And I don't even know if they're like allowed to do it without Sony's involvement. I have no idea how this works, but I do know that Sony was involved, and that might be the problem. Would love a fract Fragments of Fate to come out, Wes.
Yeah, man, that would be great. I kind of feel like that's what Synapse was supposed to be. Like they could have updated Fract, or they could have done something completely new with similar gameplay mechanics. And I feel like that's what they did. As much as I love Fract, I think Synapse is better. It's a better game. Um, but I agree. I love Fract a lot, and I would like to see a next gen version of it. Although I got to say, if I still have my PSVR1 connected and ready to go. The game looks great on that, and it plays great on that. I don't think a PSVR2 version would be a big upgrade over the PSVR1 version. It would just be nice to have it on the hardware that I'm playing on right now.
Yeah, yeah, and so many people got into VR with PSVR too.
And wait,
Yeah,
by the way, didn't Frack came out on Steam?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So they could do what they want with it.
You think?
Yeah, I don't think they had to get permission to take it to Steam. I think it was probably a timed exclusive. That's what Sony paid for, and
There
then
you
they
go.
just took it.
Yep.
They took it to where they wanted to put it, you
Yep,
know?
I think you nailed it. I think that's exactly what it is. So let's start the petition now. Let's get some Frack DLC and the port on PSVR 2. That's what we need. Yeah, dude,
Right.
I want Fract, but I want Fract that's like literally 5 times longer than the original game was, because it was only like what 2.5 hours or something. It was
Yeah,
shockingly short for what it was. Man, I could have used 5 more hours of that game minimum.
I agree.
All right, you guys. So we're gonna get out of here. We appreciate everybody tuning in and hanging out with us on these hot summer days. Hopefully, you're finding a little bit of respite inside. Hopefully, everyone's got air conditioning going on. I don't know about you, Wes, but I definitely find it a little bit harder to put the headset on in the summer than I do in the fall and the winter. So I hope that the next couple months fly by, because I want to spend a lot more time in VR than I have been personally.
I think that that's going to be the case. I think we're almost to the end of the slow season. I think we've got 2 or 3 more weeks of slowness, and then it's going to start ramping up
Yeah.
very quickly. So,
All right, you guys. Don't forget, click all the links in the description below. Come join us on Discord and go subscribe to Virtual Strangers. Go hang out with some PC VR gamers in preparation for the PC adapter coming out for PSVR 2. Also, while you're at it, subscribe to AJ and Miles, who do awesome stuff on their channels as well. I want to give a quick shout out to everybody who helps this channel run. We got RyPop uploading this on podcast services of your choice. We got Rody, the GameCat Army General, who puts timestamps into this fucker every single fucking episode. Can't believe it. He does it really fast too. I don't understand it. Shout out to everybody over on patreon.com/withoutparole everyone who supports us financially, people who tip during the show, people who comment during the show, people who hang out and try to entertain us while we try to entertain you. It means so much. But we know there's a bunch of you who sit back and watch the show. Don't say a goddamn word. We know you're out there, and we love you just as much. Happy Wednesday, Wes.
Happy Wednesday. Tiffany says she wants to hear me cue the cat. I would never cue the cat. That's an AJ thing.
Yep.
And I would never presume to do that.
No one's got that kind of energy, Tiff. Not today. We don't. Let's go. Scott, the PSVR Game Cat for Life says, clip of the week. So sorry. Clip of the week is one of those things that if I don't plan out ahead of time and search for before we start the show, then it's not something I can do during the show. And so I apologize. That was one thing I didn't get done. Also, if you're a new Patreon supporter, I also didn't update the Patreon list. I completely forgot we didn't do a show last week. Man, oh man, I got to tell you, shit's craziness. Shit is craziness. But hey, I mean, one thing we can do for you is see what was happening on this day and without parole history.
Oh,
you want to do that?
that's true.
All right.
Yeah, let's take a look.
Let's scroll back. Okay, so we're looking for 7. I didn't do this at a time either. 7, 10-ish, right? You want to go 2022 or 2021?
I'd say let's go 21.
Okay, here we go. Firewall's new season plus huge MLB home run derby update. Holy shit, did we have nothing to talk about this week?
That was terrible. You know that home run derby game, it just came to Quest like a couple of months ago.
For real?
That same one, yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I mean, it was fun for like a minute.
Yeah.
I bet a lot of people bought it, though. I bet a lot of people bought it. Yeah. Oh man, it's just so funny looking back at these thumbnails and seeing like I already feel what my feelings were before doing these shows and just being like, oh, there's nothing to talk about. Like I don't even know how to put a thumbnail together, right? It's like Firewall Operation Rubicon, and then like the MLB Home Run Derby is like, oh, and not even the fact that Home Run Derby came out, an update to Home Run Derby, so it probably just added like an extra park or something. Like that is, we were really scraping the bottom of the barrel during this time. Amazing. All right, you guys. Thank you again. We love you all. We'll and you know if we don't see you over on Virtual Strangers or tomorrow on AJ's channel, we will definitely see you on Sunday for Viewer Takeover, the return of Viewer Takeover. This time with John Hibbins talking about what's next from SciTech Games. Good night, everybody. We love you all.